Let's talk about how to start and stop our notes. The power for our sound is our air. We've already been using that. What we need to define now is how we begin the front of our note and how we end the back of the note and make our starts and our stops very clear, but also the same across every note. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say ta. So say that now. Ta. It's a sound we're familiar with. It's a motion we're familiar with. And we're going to use that to build how we articulate the front of our notes on our reeds. So again, ta. The tongue moves up right behind the top teeth, touches the gum with a little bit of strength. When we start our air, you should feel that air pressure building behind the tongue. This time, I want you to release it. And it's going to sound sort of like when you open up a bottle of something that's carbonated, or when you pop a can open that's carbonated as well. So take a listen. You hear that pop? That's as that air pushes right past the tongue. It creates that pop sound. We want to try to make that sound but a little more controlled on our instrument. So what we're going to do next is we're going to say ta, but we're going to pay attention to how the tongue feels and how the air feels right behind it. So say that. Ta. Again. Ta. Again. Ta. Good. Now, this time, I'd like you to focus on what the breath in feels like. Make it feel just like what we've been doing with our breathing and blowing exercises, our vocal basics, those kind of things. Have the tongue in the correct checkpoints when the air comes in. So when the tongue comes up and touches behind the teeth, when it releases, it comes back to that space and touches those checkpoints. So here we go. Ta. Ta. One more time. Ta. Good. Now, I want you to do it with just your air. So I'm going to do the same tongue motion, and then I'm going to blow air without using my voice to give it sound. Watch. So we're listening for that sound at the front of my air, and then the air pushes out with the same strength immediately after my tongue releases, and it goes down to those checkpoints. So go ahead and pause, and I want you to practice that. Just breathing and blowing basically, but starting with that sound on your air. Okay, so pause the video now. Now we're going to talk about how to finish our sounds. So if we just let our air stop, the problem with that is the air pressure inside of our body, which gives us a consistent strength and a consistent stream of air that passes between our lips or through our reed, will sort of trickle away. And that translates to a sound that stays one pitch and then falls. Da. We want to avoid that as much as we can. We're not going to use the tongue, however. We don't want to go tot, like tater tot, to finish the sound. What we want to do is we want to use the lips to keep that airspeed passing through the reed opening at the same speed as it trickles. So what we have to do then is close that reed opening down just a little bit using the lip muscles in the way that we practice with our reed and vocal when we're going up and down in pitch. We use the same strength. So I want to think about using that motion in the lip right here that just compresses the reed tip opening. So we're going to try it first with our voice. Say, You're going to start with a good breath in through the oral cavity and our tongue in our correct checkpoints. You're going to vocalize ah with your tongue in those same checkpoints, just the way we would do if we were playing on the reed and vocal. And you're going to finish with that lip pressure, lips coming together and squeezing just a little bit like we would to say mmm. So try that. Um. Awesome. Now we're going to do it with our air. We're just going to start blowing, and then we're going to, as we stop our air blowing from our diaphragm, our lips are going to close up a little bit. So in the moment that I'm stopping blowing and I can feel my air starting to die away on the inside of my mouth, my lips come together. We've practiced starting the note, we have practiced stopping the note separately. Let's put them together. And it's kind of like we're saying the word or the name Tom, right? It starts with that T sound at the front and it finishes with our M sound. And it holds that shape on the inside of the mouth that we've been practicing for so long now. So try that. Tom, Tom, Tom. Okay, now on our air. Awesome. Pause and practice that for a little bit. Okay, so now that we've practiced using our voice to start and stop our note, and we've done it with our air on starting and stopping the note, now let's go to reed and vocal. If you don't have your reed soaked up, go ahead and pause it and soak your reed up for 30 seconds or so. Grab your vocal, and then go ahead and wiggle your reed onto your vocal so we can start right on both together. Pause it if you need to. With our reed and vocal, we're going to do the same exact thing. Now, the only difference you're going to feel is, of course, we're not going to reach our tongue all the way up to where our teeth meet our gum. That's just how we say ta. But we are going to have the same motion here when we're doing reed and vocal. So what I want you to do is imagine that this is my tongue. My tongue is down in my checkpoint. When I bring my tongue up to touch the reed, I'm going to use just a little bit behind the tip of my tongue on the top. Okay? A good way to find this place is to take your finger, hold it straight up and down. We're going to bring it to the tongue when you stick it out of your mouth. And I want you to touch the tongue just right here. Okay? So it looks like this. After you touch your tongue to that part of your finger, just tilt your finger back and just lightly rub on that spot right where the fingertip rests. That is the part of our tongue that we're going to reach up and touch against the tip of our reed. So, go ahead and pause the video, do that with your finger and your tongue, and find that spot. Now that you've found the spot where your tongue should touch the reed, let's go ahead and see if we can apply it to the vocal. So, hold your vocal aligned with your nose. Okay, we're going to guide the tongue or the reed into our mouth on our bottom lip, and we're going to practice just moving the tongue from its checkpoint up to the tip of the reed, touching on that same spot that you touched with your finger. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you could see that my reed was kind of moving up slightly, and I was doing that just to make sure you could tell I was moving my tongue in my mouth. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and now practice that. Now that we have practiced touching our tongue to the reed without making a sound, we're going to go ahead and make our sound. We're going to put the reed on our bottom lip, 3/4 of the way up. Follow everything that you know about making an embouchure. Seal the lips against the reed after taking your breath. Touch the tongue to the tip and begin your air. As long as your embouchure is holding on and you're breathing the right way, your reed is going to vibrate with that ta sound. So here we go. So you can hear the ta on the front, but you can hear my sound falling away. I am going to add now, the M ending, tom, as I finish my note. So you should be able to hear that I'm not going tot like I talked about earlier. I'm going tom, and then my lips are finishing off the air, or the reed vibration, as my air stops from my diaphragm muscle. Go ahead and pause the video and practice that. Now that we've practiced starting and stopping our notes with our voice, with our air, and on our reed and vocal, you need to practice this as a regular element of your daily practice. Practice this at home, practice this in class, so that you can develop a consistent approach to how you're going to start and stop your notes. Be careful that the tongue is not rising up to finish your sound on the reed and that you're doing it appropriately with just your lip and your air. Pretty soon, we'll start to do this on the instrument as well, and you'll hear really clearly whether or not the way that you're starting and stopping your notes is accurate.